All right, let's dive right in and tackle, well, one of the biggest questions out there. How do we actually know what's true? Now, really, take a second and think about it. How do you actually know what you know? Is it a gut feeling, something you read, something an expert told you? It's this question, right here, that kind of shapes everything about how we see the world.
And look, this isn't just some dusty old philosophy question. The way you answer it, that affects how you learn, how you argue, how you make decisions every single day. And believe it or not, there's actually a formal name for this whole personal framework.
They're called epistemic beliefs. I know, it sounds a little academic, but all it really means is your personal theory of knowledge. Think of it like the invisible rulebook in your head that helps you decide what's a fact, what's just an opinion, and how you're supposed to tell the difference.
But here's what's so fascinating. These beliefs, they aren't set in stone. Not at all. Research shows they actually develop and, mature over time. We seem to move through these distinct stages as we learn and just live.
So there's this pretty common path most of us take. It starts when we're little kids. In the realist stage, we just think what we see is reality, a perfect copy. Then we become absolutists. Knowledge is black and white, it comes from grown-ups or teachers, and that's that. Then, we hit the multiplicitous stage. We realize people disagree and we kind of throw our hands up and say, well, I guess it's all just opinion then. But for many of us, the journey ends at the evaluative stage. This is where we get it. We understand, okay, there are multiple perspectives, but some are definitely stronger than others because they're backed up by actual evidence.
And that contrast is just huge, right? On one side, you've got that absolutist view where everything is simple, right or wrong. But on the other, you have this much more sophisticated idea that knowledge isn't static. It's something that grows and evolves, and it has to be built on a solid foundation of evidence and critical thinking.
Okay, so does any of this actually matter out there in the real world? Oh, absolutely. Let's dig into our first case study. It shows just how deeply these beliefs affect us, and we're going to start right where it all begins for many of us, the classroom.
So get this, researchers did this massive study, and when I say massive, I mean it. They analyzed the epistemic beliefs of almost 11,000 students in Germany, all the way from elementary to high school. The sheer scale here is just incredible, and it gives us some seriously powerful insights. And what did they find? A super clear trend. As you can see, the number of students with these sophisticated beliefs, the ones who value evidence, it just goes up and up the further they get in school. It's like the process of education itself is designed to nudge us in that direction.
But here's where it gets really crucial. It's all about the correlations. The students with those sophisticated beliefs, they were more likely to have higher socioeconomic status, more confidence in their science skills, and a way better grasp of the scientific method. It's pretty stark, right? Your deep down beliefs about what knowledge is are directly tied to how well you can succeed.
Okay, so that's one model, right? The classroom model, where the goal is always to find the best evidence-based answer. But what if that's not the goal? What if the goal is just to help two groups understand each other, even if you know they'll never agree on a single truth?
Well, that brings us to a philosopher named Paul Feyerabend, and he had a pretty radical idea. He basically argued that we have to accept a simple fact. No single perspective, no single method holds a monopoly on the truth.
His theory got this famous, kind of provocative nickname, anything goes. Now, that doesn't mean it's just total chaos and nothing is true. Not at all. It's more of a tool. It's a way of saying that when things get messy and human, having a bunch of different perspectives is actually a good thing because, well, nobody can really claim to be 100% right.
So where would you use a tool like that? A perfect example is interfaith dialogue. The goal isn't for one religion to win an argument and prove the other one wrong, right? By taking on this anything goes mindset, you create a space where different truths can just exist next to each other. And that leads to understanding, not just more conflict.
So we've got the evidence-based model from the classroom. We've got the multiple truths model for dialogue. But there's a third way of thinking about knowledge, and this one is ancient. It's all about separating knowledge into totally different buckets, or domains.
Listen to this quote from the theologian Augustine. When he wrote this, he clearly wasn't talking about something you could prove with a science experiment. He was pointing to a completely different way of knowing something, a way that's based on internal, spiritual experience, not external evidence.
And this is where we get the model of two distinct domains. You've got reason over here. That's the tool we use for the physical world, right? Stuff we can measure, test, and apply logic to. And then you've got faith over here. In this model, that's the tool for understanding a supernatural realm, a place that, by definition, science just can't measure.
And from this point of view, the two aren't fighting. They're not in conflict at all. Science can't disprove faith, and faith isn't trying to contradict science, because they're just different tools for different jobs, exploring different realities. They can be seen as two compatible parts of a bigger, more comprehensive worldview.
So let's pull all of this together. Where does this leave us? We've just walked through 3 really different models for how we decide what's true.
So let's recap. First, we had the classroom model, where our beliefs develop over time and an evidence-based approach is key to learning. Then we had that anything goes idea, where seeing truth as relative can actually help people get along. And finally, we looked at the faith and reason model, where knowledge is just compartmentalized into different realms with different rules.
So why does any of this matter? What's the big takeaway? It's this. Just being aware of these invisible frameworks, both in yourself and in other people, is the whole key. It's what helps you understand why you believe what you do, and maybe, just maybe, why talking to someone who disagrees with you can sometimes feel absolutely impossible.
At the end of the day, these epistemic beliefs, they're like the invisible architecture of your mind. They are quietly, constantly shaping every single conclusion you draw and every argument you make. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. How does your personal theory of knowledge shape your world?